This is the Superpowered Mind podcast for inquiring individuals who are tired of the struggle for peace, happiness, and clarity. I'm Claire Diamond, ready to help you explore the principles of the mind, the self, and reality to unlock ultimate mental freedom. This podcast is the one to listen to if you're ready to experience the capabilities of the superpowered mind. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first Superpowered Mind podcast of 2026. And this is going to be a year in which we look at self-care. What is real self-care? How does the human body mind really flourish? How does the experience of being align more and more closely to the truth of being? And we're going to look at all the different aspects of life. And to kick it off, I thought it'd be useful to do a podcast on 5 variables that we're going to explore with extra focus. And we're going to look throughout the whole of 26 at these variables in relation to physical, mental health, in relation to our partner, our family, friends, community, our finances, our work and creativity. We're going to look at everything. And the 5 variables that we're going to consider are the self, fundamental to everything. Really, what are we? When we start looking at that, everything changes. We're going to look at flow, which is this interaction between ease and challenge, in which the whole system can become engaged. We're going to look at balance of input and output. We're going to look at intelligence, how what we are is intelligence, and how decisions are always optimal given the reality that is being experienced. And finally, we're going to look at love from the basics, that we are unconditional love already. There's nothing that needs to be found out there in terms of love. And from that space of unconditional love, there are boundaries and there are agreements. There are containers of different types of relationships. So those are the 5 variables that we're going to consider. And I'll just go through them now so that we can start off by looking at really what's going on. So the first variable, self. This is the fundamental question that can be asked in every single aspect of our lives. What are we? And it leads to this question of what is wanted here, and is it achievable or is it not? Because our starting point in everything that we look at is that the conceptual, psychological identity can never be secured. And the more vulnerable it is, so the more insecure, the more fragile, the more dependent it is on other people's opinions or attention or respect or regard, the more it bases itself on things like success or money or status. All of that is a sense of being that is firmly rooted in a separate identity. So it's separate from the infinite and absolute. It's separate from love, separate from intelligence, separate from consciousness. And it's totally dependent on a relative world of other people, of events, of circumstances, of responses, of promotions, of praise, of compliments, of recognition or invitations. And that relative world is only ever a reflection of the same conditioning that is creating the self in the first place. So this is our fundamental baseline of flourishing, because everything in reality, every experience is bringing the mind back to that truth, that experience of being a separate, independent entity me, I, Claire, distinct from everyone else, living in an objective reality, needing to have these different things in order to feel okay. That's the illusion. And the more the mind shifts, and we're going to use all of these different aspects this year, all types of relationships, all aspects of health, all aspects of money, home, stability, materialism, all aspects of work and creativity, to see how all of it is bringing the mind back to what it really is, what the I really is, what reality really is. And that is absolutely transformational. That is fundamental to a mind that is settling into its true power, into what is really going on. So that's our first variable. Our second variable we're going to consider is flow, which is a well-known psychological term, and it's the state of being, the state of involvement, the state of engagement in which the whole system is occupied. And it's occupying the space between ease. When something's so easy, it becomes boring. It sort of kicks the mind into wanting distraction, and challenge, where something is too hard or too difficult, and again it brings the mind back into this sort of rumination. I can't do this. Why can't I do all of these things? Why am I such a failure? We're looking at that sweet space between ease and too much challenge, where there's just enough ease that there's this ease of engagement, and there's just enough challenge that the whole system is involved. And so that is going to be like in every aspect of our life, that understanding of a system that can really operate so smoothly, that can engage no matter, and obviously neurodiversity is very high in everyone's inboxes at the moment. No matter what the type of neurology, no matter what's going on, that space of flow is really our birthright. If we think of toddlers so engaged, so deeply immersed in what they're doing, and we're going to consider how that can be brought about as a genuinely flourishing space. Often there's loads of actions that are being taken to try to replicate that space, like alcohol or drugs say, to switch off the narrative of self, and to try to get that immersion going. But it's a very fake and damaging and nowhere close replica. It's really a sham, because the mind isn't really engaged. It's just had its power diminished. We see, like when we're drunk, we might feel that we're, fully engaged, but we're falling over things. We're saying stuff to people that we would never say to them normally. We're knocking drinks over. We're sort of out of tune with the whole situation. We're talking about real immersion, when all the senses are alive and open, and the mind and body are fully in the flow of engagement. Related to flow, which is the other variable we're going to look at, is balance. And again, something I think really interesting in modern times now, with so much input coming in, so much information, scrolling through these feeds of quick information and videos and facts, and so much coming in. And we're going to consider balance in terms of input and output. How, because everything really is about balance for the body, just as everything is about flow. For flow, there's just nothing is static, is there? In nature, in the human body, the only static things really are the beliefs. And for flow, we're really looking at how everything is in movement, everything is shifting from one state to another. And similarly with balance, we're looking at how do input and output become balanced for optimum health, optimum self-care. Just as the inhale, the exhale needs to be in balance, and we can temporarily disrupt it, consciously disrupt it. We can go for a run. We can do some vigorous activity. It temporarily disrupts that flow. We might be out of breath running, but then the system will rebalance itself. And so this isn't about like vigilance of, like trying to overly control a system, but it is recognizing that need for input and output to match. And especially where it comes to something like creativity, work, where there can be so much coming in, and yet the flow through the system is through creating, is through creating vehicles in which what is being assimilated subconsciously can be put out into the world, and for feedback, for information that can then come back in again. So flow and balance are these perfect designs, really, of a flourishing system. And we're going to see how they operate in every level of our life. Yeah. The fourth variable is intelligence. And the focus of an identified mind that believes it is running the show, that it is controlling all decisions, that it is somehow external or distinct or separate from the intelligence of life itself, that identified mind is exhausting itself, trying to do something that given that it doesn't exist as an entity is impossible to do. It's literally like the toddler in the back of a car with a toy steering wheel attached to the back of the seat, steering, but imagine really, really believing it's in control of the car, that everything is on its back. Like the whole safety of everything depends on that steering wheel. And it's a steering wheel that is literally not attached to anything. And so we're going to consider that what the human body mind is intelligence. That's it, moving out into the world, intelligence. And all the actions, all the decisions taken by the body mind originate subconsciously. There is literally no independent decider. So everything is originating out of any conscious sight. It arrives as a thought, as a decision, comes out as an action. And all of that is going to be optimum for the reality that is being experienced. And the only issue is that very often that reality has zero correlation to actual reality. And it has no correlation because the mind is living in a projection of its beliefs, its meaning, its assumptions, patterns from the past, characters from the past. And so decisions will always be optimum for the reality believed. And a huge part of a flourishing body-mind system is for it to move more and more into reality, to recognize stress, separation, resentment as a signal that the mind is reacting to its own creations. So intelligence of being, absolutely fundamental as the energetic existence of the human body mind, and how that whole intelligence relaxes, really softens into the actual truth of right now, is absolutely fascinating. And then the final factor that we're going to consider is love. The fact that what we are is unconditional love. And ironically, the clearer it becomes that what we are already is love, the more love is experienced, the more love comes into us. And this is because a mind that is working on the basis, I need love to feel okay. I need to be loved. I need to be in love. I need to find the person to love. That mind is operating out of separation. It's literally moment by moment pushing away that experience of wholeness, which is the mind's birthright, which is unconditional love. And we're going to consider the irony that the knowing of ourselves is unconditional love. So there's no condition put on anyone else to make me feel okay. That's the condition. There's no one has to do or say anything for my sense of existence to remain aligned to what's true, that I am love already. So that's unconditional love. There's nothing required in order to make me feel whole. That's the basis. And from that space, so many boundaries can be made, so many agreements, so many consequences can be put in place. The nature of so many relationships can be changed from that space. It doesn't diminish the unconditional love, but it operates in this world of form in which there are behaviors and there are words and there are agreements, there are situations that can all be changed. And that's the basis for all relationships. We're going to look at this throughout the whole year. Unconditional love is what we are. And the clearer that becomes, the more easy it is. So easy to have boundaries and agreements around what we want, around how we want to live, around how we want our relationships to be. So those are our 5 things: the self, flow, balance, intelligence, and love. And I hope you'll join us in January and beyond to look at these. We're starting with physical and mental health in January. So it's going to be a really fascinating month. And so happy New Year. Happy real self flourishing to everybody. Lots of love. Bye. Thank you for listening to Superpowered Mind with me, Claire Diamond. If you want extra support in the exploration of your mind, download our exclusive subliminal recording, especially for podcast listeners, on bit.ly/podcast subliminal.